Hi SI alumni and friends, I'm Tom Shea. This past Sunday, we just celebrated the 2025 Christ the King Award featuring recipient Father Raymond Allender, class of '62. It was a phenomenal event full of spirituality and celebration for over 450 people in attendance. We congratulate Father Allender on his life's work, and he is a man with and for others. We just completed a whirlwind of reunions, meeting hundreds of alumni who took the time to come back and meet with their classmates. If you have a reunion coming up in the future, make sure you attend. You won't be sorry. And congratulations to Joe Vollert, class of '84, on becoming SI's 32nd president. Joe has spent his entire professional career at SI, and we are so lucky to have him during SI's next phase of growth. And mark your calendars for the Bruce Mahoney basketball games at Chase Center on January 16th. We plan on having an alumni pregame tailgate and march into Chase Center. Stay tuned for more details. Enjoy this video, first shown at Holy Name Church, on the occasion of Father Raymond Allender's Christ the King Mass and celebration.
For 7 decades, the St. Ignatius Alumni Association has bestowed the Christ the King Award on one of its own. It is the highest honor the school gives to a graduate who is distinguished in their profession and who best exemplifies the ideal of service to God and His people. It is the highest award we give to our alumni, which dates back to the 1960s. So, on this day in 2025, which marks the 64th time the Christ the King has been awarded, we honor, from the St. Ignatius class of 1962, Father Raymond Allender of the Society of Jesus.
He was such a great big brother. He would include me in things he was doing that not a lot of older brothers would let their sisters tag along. And he took me under his wing. My mom said that he was always watching out for me.
The family grew up in the Sunset District. When I was born, we lived on 31st Avenue, 31st and Lawton. I attended first grade at Holy Name. And then after the first grade, my family we moved to the to Ocean Avenue area. We lived on Kenwood Way, and I went to St. Ignatius Grammar School from the 2nd grade through the 5th. Then we moved again. My father worked at Sterling's Furniture, and as he advanced at Sterling's Furniture, we moved into better homes. So we moved into Country Club Acres at the end of Sunset Boulevard on Lakeshore Drive, and I attended St. Stephen's Grammar School from the 6th grade through the 8th. It was a wonderful family life. It was great growing up in the city. It was so family oriented. There's so many young families. And I had such a fondness for St. Stephen's Parish and the pastor, who was the greatest priest I ever knew, Father Joseph Donworth.
We were both in grammar school, and I think he knew then that his calling was becoming a priest, because I remember saying to him, Ray, how do you know you want to be a priest? And he said, Sue, I've always known that. I've always known that that's what I want to do.
I met Ray at secondary ed events. Particularly, we'd have meetings of the presidents, the principals, and the superiors of Jesuit communities in high schools. But also I would meet Ray at province events, ordinations, vows, and those kinds of things. And I was always impressed with Ray's kindness, Ray's gentleness, and his wisdom.
I just remember him to be a very avid Giants and 49ers fan.
So Ray and I first met in 2010 when I interviewed for the role of the director of the Ignatian Spiritual Life Center at St. Agnes. Ray then talked me into taking not only the director of the SLC role, but also working in children's faith formation at St. Agnes, and that was just a total gift.
So I really came to know Ray when I moved to San Francisco in 2012. We were members of the same Jesuit community, of course, but also we were the two pastors on either side of the Panhandle. So that was when I first really got to know Ray. And certainly we got to know each other over lunch often enough, and I would ask him the how-to questions, or what do you do when questions as pastor. I was new, and he'd had years of experience, both as pastor, but even broader experience working in a parish. Ray was always able to see beyond the things that seem unchangeable, the rules that we supposedly have, to the core of, well, certainly the issue, but more importantly, he would see to the core of the person.
Ray was the most wonderful pastor I could have ever asked for. And he made a lot of things that are really hard about being a pastor look really easy. I think he found ways to wear that hat of leader while also being a true minister to people's hearts.
Ray was a zealous, prayerful, spiritual Jesuit. He was and is a wonderful preacher and a spiritual director and a teacher. Although I like to tease him that he used to teach a prayer class on prayer, and they would have it in the Oradre Chapel. And I remember going by one time, and all the boys were, he had them laying down on their back, and they were all asleep, and Ray was in his seat, and he was asleep. So I said, well, I don't know what kind of prayer you call that. St. Agnes, he was extraordinary. He had an incredible community there, a diverse community, a very welcoming community of people from different perspectives, different outlooks. He never, excluded anybody. It was a great community that he had there.
What I loved about the St. Agnes community was just how welcoming and inclusive it was. I think I also loved how close-knit it was. It felt like a kind of small hometown within the island that kind of can be this big, busy city. Ray was also really intentionally very welcoming towards young families. And so one of the things I loved is how the end of Mass at St. Agnes would feel. He'd walk back down the aisle and the ending notes of the closing song would play, and everybody would just kind of hang out in the back, and there were kids crawling around on the ground, or everybody was just sort of congregating and drinking their orange juice and hanging out, and it made it feel like a fun weekend activity, and not just something that you check off your weekend to-do list.
My time at St. Agnes was creme de la creme of my life. When I left the high school, I was 62 years of age. It was time for a change. And going to St. Agnes, I loved the people there. They loved me. It was a marriage made in heaven.
He also was able to speak with a lot of moral authority and call people to live Ignatian values, but he was able to do it in such a kind way that nobody felt pushed out of the conversation.
The people taught me what it means to be a priest. They were really into the parish. They were very generous. Our 10:30 Mass on Sunday was a wonderful liturgical celebration. And we would have hospitality after that 10:30 Mass each Sunday. And most of the parishioners would stay because we had it right in the church. And people got to know each other. It was just a real gift from God that I was there. The decision to go co-ed, my responsibility, my area, was the Jesuit community. But we had two discernment evenings for the Jesuits. And we prayed and we went around the room. There were about 30 of us at the time, I think. And each person said how they stood on coeducation. You just listened to everyone. Then we spent the next week, we had a week of prayer praying over what we had heard. And then we went around a second time, and everyone said how they stood on coeducation. And there was an obvious consensus. There was an obvious consensus that given the historical moment, St. Ignatius should go co-ed. 4 of us, the 4 trustees, Father Sauer, Carlin, Prieto, and myself, we went out to the villa and had a day of prayer where we wanted to make a final decision. And the final decision was, yes, given the historical moment, we should go co-ed.
They saw Ray as a person who is very caring, loving, well prepared, and a wonderful Jesuit.
I think it's perfect that Ray is receiving the Christ the King Award, because that feast, this solemnity, the feast of Christ the King, is not about power and influence as the world knows it, but it's about power, influence through a life of love. And I think that really is Ray Allender.
I feel like we still experience a lot of those same graces and a lot of that same goodness that I know Ray brought to the program when he was leading it.
Ray is the kindest person I know. Ray is the most supportive person I know. Ray's just the best of the best.
Ray is a very loyal friend and is always there when you need him.
Ray is generous. Ray is ready to go where he's called.
Ray Allender is a wonderful human being. Ray Allender is a great friend. Ray Allender is an exemplary Jesuit priest.
Ray Allender is the priest that I want to be when I grow up.